government again evaded its obligations in failing to explain exactly when those flights carrying the Venezuelans took off and left U.S. airspace last weekend. President Trump on social media apparently lashing out at the judge. Judge James Boasberg is doing everything in his power to usurp the power of the presidency.
Another federal judge temporarily blocking Elon Musk and his Doge team from getting sensitive data from the Social Security Administration. In a ruling Thursday, the judge also ordered members of the Doge team to delete any personal information they've obtained so far from the agency. Top Democrats urging the Trump administration to reverse course on its plan to eliminate the Department of Education. On Thursday, ranking members of two House committees sent a letter to Education Secretary Linda McMahon, calling the move short-sighted decisions that could cause damage to America's students. Decision Wisconsin, candidates for Department of Public Instruction spoke at their only candidate forum through Wisconsin Eye ahead of the April 1st election. One question, staying independent in a race that's become politicized.
In a race where thousands of dollars in donations come from both parties, incumbent Dr. Jill Underly says students are the ones being impacted.
Right now, when I look at the landscape of education and public education in Wisconsin, we are not fulfilling our constitutional obligation.
Challenger Brittany Kinzer says she's gotten support from talking to both sides of the aisle.
I'm very proud of the support and respect I've gotten from Democrats for Education Reform and then all the way to Governor Tommy Thompson.
Sean Brinda, WTMJ News.
One more week remains in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race between Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel. TMJ4 chief political reporter Charles Benson tells Wisconsin's Afternoon News more people have voted early than any other previous state Supreme Court race.
So nearly 60,000 people have voted in person. So yesterday when I did the math, we were up 120% on in person, and we were up about 50% on total with the absentee.
Benson says Waukesha County seen more in-person early voters than absentee mail-in votes from both Milwaukee and Dane counties. Heathrow Airport in London completely shut down after power cut by a fire at a nearby electrical substation. With no flights in or out today, traveler John Moriarty, who was trying to get back home to Boston, has been on the phone.
I've called Delta and all the lines are busy, so they're not answering. I just called American Express Travel to see if they can help. I'm waiting. All the lines are busy.
Nearly 300,000 passengers could be affected by the closure. First sign of spring in southeast Wisconsin is the return of the peregrine falcons. The birds have been spotted at We Energy's power plants across the region, which means they're getting ready to create nests and lay their eggs. We Energies provides live stream cameras for the endangered birds at their Oak Creek, Port Washington, Valley Power, and Weston plants. Last year, the first eggs were laid in late March. 20% of all peregrine falcons are born in Wisconsin. Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management market update. The markets are down this morning. Dow off 431 points right now. The Nasdaq down 134. S&P 500 down 49. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 9:04.
Why is Susan Crawford running away from the radical record she wants to bring to our Wisconsin Supreme Court?
Susan Crawford, why did you attempt to repeal our voter ID laws that would make it easier for illegals to vote?
Susan Crawford, you called our voter ID laws draconian.
Haven't we had enough problems in Wisconsin with ineligible people trying to vote? Crawford would make it worse.
Susan Crawford is running away, but on April 1st, you can stop her. Judge Brad Schimmel has a proven record of supporting strong voter ID laws in Wisconsin. Elect Judge Brad Schimmel on April 1st. LNC Coalition paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. lcfreedom.com.
Don't think twice. Call Geis. A great way to add value and curb appeal to your home is with a new LiftMaster or CHI maintenance-free garage door. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. A study by Remodelers Magazine reports that the average return on investment is an amazing 82%. Garage doors rank first among all home improvement projects. To see Geis's huge selection of doors, visit their showroom in Brookfield, or you can also visit their online showroom at geisdoors.com. Geis has everything from alley doors to custom wood designer doors and everything in between. Remember, for all your garage door needs, you call Geis at 262-784-4250. That number again, 262-784-4250. It's Geis. Visit them online at geisdoors.com.
Don't think twice. Call Geis.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. Wisconsin advances to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Number 3 Badgers blew out 14-seeded Montana 85-66 in the East region. They face number 6 BYU in round 2 tomorrow. Marquette number 7 in the South and tips off against 10-seeded New Mexico tonight. Badgers Sports Update sponsored by Siding Unlimited, siding and a whole lot more. And the college basketball tournament update brought to you by Outdoor Living Unlimited. Bucks blasted the Lakers 118-89 from Los Angeles. The Bucks visit the Kings tomorrow night. Spring training, Brewers square off against the Diamondbacks from Phoenix. Milwaukee improves to 14-11 in exhibition play following a recent win over the White Sox. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons paving time saver traffic. I-41 south, about a half mile beyond I-41 east. Possibly some lane closures there due to some debris in the road. Also a new crash, the exit to Greenfield Avenue from I-41 north. That exit is closed because of an accident there. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Increasing cloudiness, breezy today, a chance for an afternoon and evening shower today, a high 55. Slight chance of rain or even snow flurries overnight, low 26. Early clouds and then increasing sunshine tomorrow, high up to 37. Rain, snow mix likely on Sunday, high 47. A slight chance for snow showers both Monday and Tuesday with highs in the lower to mid 40s. Right now, Madison at 40, Green Bay 39, Milwaukee 40 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 9:08.
Good morning, Wisconsin. So let's pour that coffee and talk to some experts about what's going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Washington, and beyond. Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. It's the Political Power Hour on WTMJ. Here's your host, Steve Scaffidi.
Should we talk about the government?
Oh, happy Friday, everybody. And who better to talk about politics with than my guys? Probably the biggest duo tandem on politics in the state of Wisconsin. Is that right, Bill McCosh and Joseph Peck? I think it is.
Those are your words.
Those are your words.
A modest man would never agree with that.
We'll find out soon enough if you've been nominated for any awards, right?
We will find out.
It is
soon
award
enough.
season.
All right, gentlemen. We have a big race coming up in less than 2 weeks now. A couple big races, Department of Public Instruction, Superintendent, but we're going to talk about the state Supreme Court. If you watch TV at all or listen to the radio, the ads are crazy. With 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to go, Bill McCoshen, what do we need to know about this race from your perspective?
So Elon Musk's group, who I'm sure my friend Joe is going to talk about here, released a poll yesterday that showed Crawford up 5. But the surprising part of it was the poll said that Schimmel was actually down 13 just 2 weeks ago. I don't think that he was down 13 2 weeks ago.
I don't even think he's down 5.
I don't think he's down 5 now. I think it's a margin of error race, and I don't think either one is at 50, which means jump ball in this final 12 days. And who can draw the contrast? What I've said for some time now is I think it was time for Schimmel for sure to move off what I call the Willie Horton ads. She's soft on crime, she's letting out predators and criminals, blah, blah, blah. I think between the two of them, those ads have canceled themselves out, and voters can't quite distinguish who's softer on crime.
Where should they be going?
So Schimmel today moved to culture issues, and I think that's going to be a strong close for him to make sure the Republicans understand who he is and what he believes in, and versus her and what she believes in. For Crawford, and I'll let Joe speak to this, she's trying to make it about she's trying to say he's corrupt. I don't see that as being an effective close. People that know Brad Schimmel, first as a prosecutor, then as state's attorney general, now as a judge.
Bottom line, he's not corrupt. I know Brad Schimmel.
He's not corrupt. So we'll see if the shift to the culture war is enough to sort of close this tiny gap at the end. WMC, again, had a poll out last week that had it tied. I'm not sure it was tied at that point in time, but I think it is a margin of error race and could go either way.
Joe Zepecki.
That was a lot of numbers. I don't think any of them mean anything. Bill knows that a traditional spring electorate, Susan Crawford wins. every degree towards a presidential electorate gets better for Brad Schimmel.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to poll. It's really hard to poll anyways, but basically this comes down to, can Elon Musk with his millions get MAGA voters who have never voted in a spring election out or not? That's the ball game.
Early voting is up.
But it depends on who's voting.
Waukesha County's up.
So we could spend
And
we
Washington.
could spend all hour on that. There are two things that happened this week that I think are worth pointing out in this race. The first was on a different inferior radio product. Brad Schimmel went down the big lie rabbit hole again and is already sowing distrust based on how Milwaukee reports their ballots. He's on the Eric Hovde train. You've been calling Eric Hovde a loser, and wouldn't you know it, big lie Brad out here being like, well, of course I'll accept the results of the election so long as there's no funny business, so long as there's no late-night ballot dumps in Milwaukee. There's going to be late-night release of numbers because Republicans in the legislature refuse to do the thing that all three of us agree should be done.
Should have been done a long time ago.
Should have been done a long time
So
ago.
that's nonsense from Mr. Schimmel. And, he knows better. I disagree with him. I think he's wrong on a lot of things, but he's not a stupid guy. He knows exactly what he's doing, and it's ridiculous, and it should be called out. The second thing that should be called out, Bill and Steve and I have been reading the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel for a long time. We know how active the editorial board used to be and how reluctant they have become to weigh in on races. They came out this week with a righteous, scathing editorial about the conduct of Elon Musk. His group is setting up fake organizations and ascribing positions to Susan Crawford that she has never said anything about or ruled on publicly. He is disguising these as from progressive groups and targeting them to conservative voters to try and make people hate her more. We have free speech in this country, but that move is vile and disgusting.
Think about this during the break. Elon Musk, will he do literally anything when it comes to these ads or his efforts on behalf of candidates to win a race?
Yes.
Joseph, don't answer yet.
I don't have to think about it.
That was a tease. Now you blew the tease.
We're sticking with the Supreme Court in the next segment.
Yes, Bill McCosh and Joseph Pecky, Steve Scaffidi on the Friday Origin Story edition of the Political Power Hour, 620 WTMJ.
On Wisconsin's Morning News, we profile the average John or Jane Doe who had no idea when they got up one morning that they'd be saving a life, becoming everyday heroes.
There, yeah, she flew off the road right at a bridge, so she went down an embankment. No one could see her vehicle
Until a guy named Johnny Martinez happened to come by.
I said, ma'am, how long have you been here? And she said, I've been here since Wednesday night. And I said, no, it's today's Tuesday.
Everyday Hero, Thursdays at 6:40. Presented by Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living, transforming the culture of care.
Two things. I never get tired. I never get tired to talk about Advent because they changed my life. They can change your life as well. I had snoring issues, tossing and turning, restless nights of sleep, all those things that some of you are still dealing with. There's no reason to put up with that, and I did something about it. I went to Advent, 30-minute visit. Asked my questions. They put me at ease. We added in a really, really simple sleep study at home. They determined my problem, sinuses and nasal passage in my breathing triangle. They fixed it for me. 30-minute procedure, less than 30 minutes. I think it was like 25. And that changed my life. If you have a sleep partner that you're bothering with the tossing and turning and a snoring, which is something you can fix, by the way, do something about it. You want to find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better. Go to adventknows.com. Adventknows.com. Simple as that. Schedule an appointment today. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Get that good night's sleep because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
No shortcuts, no compromises, just the job done right. At Exterior Pros, we don't just meet expectations, we crush them. Every nail, every window, every shingle is a step toward your home's next chapter. From the moment we start until that final reveal, we're committed to making your home better than ever. Quality products and craftsmanship you can count on. Go to the pros for your next project. Get started today and save $2,000. Visit extpros.com or call 262-800-4274. That's 262-800-4274.
All right, anybody listening to the show knows, first of all, Fridays, Bill McCosh and Joseph Pecky, the experts from both sides of the political aisle, and we pride ourselves on doing that on this program and on this station. All right, everybody knows I'm not a fan of Elon Musk. I've said it a billion times, and I've defended that belief many, many times. But I'm curious what you guys think. Elon Musk, I know, Bill, you're a fan of Elon. Is that correct?
I'm impressed with Elon
Fanboy.
Musk. Yeah.
Number one fanboy.
Fanboy.
Joe raised the issue in our first segment about some of the things he says, ads that he's paying for that are not controlled by the candidates. We should make people aware of that fact. Saying things that frankly aren't true, and this is where I get crazy, because I understand that there's a separation between the candidates, their campaign, and these outside interest ads, but shouldn't we be about telling the truth in politics? Because last time I checked, and I say this all the time on Twitter, not X, lying about politics is still lying.
We should. I got to be honest. I don't know what to do about this. It's right, because the free speech rights of Americans are fundamental, and our politics has gotten to a place where there's almost no penalty for just outright making stuff up. And I don't know how you reconcile those two things. But one of the things that has become clearer to me is that the choice made by people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk is there's no cost to this, so why not do it? And the worst outcome for them is people don't believe that ad and it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't matter. They've still eroded trust, and they've already lost trust, so they almost don't care. Like, it's freeing in a way. And we were texting about this. We probably don't have time for a full segment on it. Like, there was some reporting last night from the New York Times that Elon Musk was going to get a top secret briefing on war plans for China.
New York Times is still defending that story.
And none of us know whether that's going to happen or not, or whether it was going to happen. But what we know is the New York Times has journalistic standards. They have editors who, when reporters come and say, like, they have to, who did you talk to? Like, clearly there were people inside the Pentagon who believed this was going to happen, multiple people independent of one another. That's how journalism standards work, and they report it. Then the Trump administration comes out and says, this is fake. And then we're left going, well, who do
Trump himself.
And then we're left going, who do we believe? And what we know is that Donald Trump has lied over and over again to the American people, and trust is like your virginity. Once you lose it, you don't get it back. And like, I don't actually have like a take on this. It's just a really tough spot for all of us to be in when the government, the head of the government, appears to not care whether we trust him or not. And then you have media outlets who have journalistic standards, but do not bat 1,000. And there are things they've gotten wrong. And some people will believe the New York Times. Other people will believe the Trump administration.
So
this is a
back to your
dangerous
question.
place.
Here's where I think we're at. And to get right to it, whether it's J.B. Pritzker or George Soros or Reid Hoffman on the one side, the left, or Musk on the right, they have an outsized influence in today's politics, particularly in Wisconsin. There's ample evidence of that. But on the notion, who's calling balls and strikes? Who's the referee? There used to be editorials mattered. And I'm sorry if there's reporters listening, but the truth is nobody cares what an editorial says anymore. It doesn't have the influence it once did. If you got the Sunday editorial in the Milwaukee Journal or the Journal Sentinel when it merged, that used to be a very big deal. They don't even do editorials anymore.
Which is why this one was so rare.
Right?
It was unusual.
And nobody paid attention. I didn't even see that.
What do we think the truth of the story is?
On which part?
On Hegseth having access.
I don't believe that's accurate. That
Musk is going to get briefed.
Musk is going to get briefed on any foreign affairs thing.
Right.
My understanding is they're actually having a press conference either at DOD or in the White House today to talk about Doge's efforts with DOD.
That was reported this morning.
Yeah. As it relates to this New York Times thing, I think we're seeing sort of generations now of stories out there with unnamed sources. Right, and these could very well be anti-Trumpers who think they know something. They're leaking it to the New York Times. They have no proof of it. New York Times is using them because they've been in the agency for 20 years or more, and somehow it becomes a real story.
Well, you're not saying that unnamed
Trump
sources should never be used, because that's Watergate at some point.
I'm saying I'd prefer they'd not be used. If they're the sole source of a story,
that's not realistic. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't get the information you'd get as a reporter.
But I think that's where we're moving towards. These stories won't be believable until people put their names behind them.
We're going deep in the weeds here, so let's just go for it. Bill I think will agree with me on this. Historically, there's been an expectation that if 4 sources is what they said, come to the New York Times and say this is happening, and then the New York Times goes, okay, we have it, we're going to write it, they go to the Trump administration, they go to the White House and say, this is what we have. What's your response? And it is not uncommon for a White House or a governor's office to say, we're not going to respond to that. And then when the reporting comes out, to now come out and say, it's not happening. Why didn't they just say it wasn't happening when the New York Times approached them in the first place?
Yeah, I didn't read the original story, so I don't know if they were approached. But what I told you guys on text this morning is I think one of the biggest upgrades of Trump 2.0 is their rapid response system. When stories like Hegseth is taking, references to Colin Powell and any female senior, people buried at Arlington out, that was false. And Hegseth himself responded. On this one, Trump himself responded. We didn't see that in Trump 1.0. We do see it in Trump 2.0. So the playing field is level. I think the three of us agree on transparency. We want as much transparency as possible. If they can prove that story without those sources, have at it.
Should Musk have unfettered, unrestricted access to all private data that the U.S. government, federal government has?
No.
Yes, he should, as it relates, and here's why. Whether it's Social Security, public benefits, or taxes, how would you know if a fraud's going on if you can't do a Social Security number match plus a name? There might be people who are more than 100 years old, and that's already been widely reported that exists. How can you find out who those people are if you don't get access to their Social Security numbers?
But also understand the Republican conservative position for years has been our data, our personal information is private and not just being able to access by anybody.
How is anyone of our listeners' personal data going to be impacted by that? If we're all following the rules.
But it's not just Musk. It's all these young tech bros who are also unvetted, who have access nobody should have, especially at that young age. Unchecked? No, I'm not signing up for that.
Yeah, this is where we disagree. I think they have to have access to that. If you want to weed out waste, fraud, and abuse, you have to have access to Social Security numbers.
The Republican Party is not what it used to be.
Well,
because they
clearly
used to,
on that issue.
Yeah, I mean.
I don't get it. I mean, again, I understand the love affair on Trump, and he won the election. But the love affair with Elon Musk, because he's rich, I don't get. Quick break. McCoshin, Zapecki, Friday edition, Political Power Hour, 620 WTMJ.
Warmer temps are on the way. It's time for the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin Spring Home Improvement Showcase on WTMJ. Get all the tips, tricks, and best practices to improve your home with our trusted partners, including Kohler Services, Yutka Fence, and Ridgetop Exteriors. So be listening for all of our interviews coming up on the air. Plus, we'll post everything for you. You can listen anytime at WTMJ.com. It's the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin Spring Home Improvement Showcase, only here on WTMJ.
Gain Super Flings are here to take your laundry to the next level.
Talking about Gain Super Flings. Super-sized laundry packs. These things are huge. Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings laundry packs have 4 times the Oxy cleaning power and 3 times the Febreze freshness versus Gain Original Liquid.
Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings for next level laundry.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Before you go looking for an area rug that you'll have to settle for because you think that the one you really want will be out of your budget, come to Design Exchange, where you'll find a formidable selection of Oriental, Persian, and other wool area rug choices at 25 to 70% off retail. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
If you're trying to find really good, high-end, distinctive furniture, the kind they just don't make anymore, then come to Design Exchange. But you better get here quickly, because the best furniture we take in on consignment doesn't usually last long. It may be vintage, it may have once been out of your range, but now you'll find it's priced right. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value.
Design Exchange.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for Tri-County Contracting. We talk all the time about Tri-County Contracting, the place to go for roofs and siding, but don't forget, Tri-County Contracting also does windows. Need a new front entry door? Tri-County Contracting, or maybe a patio door that's always jammed. Get your free estimates today. They've been helping homeowners like you for 46 years. Tri-County Contracting, WI.com. It's worry-free roofing, siding, oh yeah, and windows. Tri-County Contracting, WI.com.
A couple minutes before the bottom of the hour news with the always outstanding Connie Weber. And, of course, latest from ABC, Bill McCoshen. You and I think, have the same opinion on Governor Tim Walz. I don't hate the guy, but he's in Wisconsin a lot. Like, stay on your side of the border, for Pete's sake.
He was in Eau Claire on Wednesday night, packed the place, the Pablo Center. He had 800 or 900 people there.
He sure loves Wisconsin a lot.
The thing about Walz that I find sort of humorous, at least this week, I found him humorous through the whole campaign because I couldn't believe that Harris picked him. He said, as it relates to Tesla stock, that he gets up in the morning to see how much the Tesla stock has dropped and that gets him going for the day. The stupidity of that statement is astronomical when you consider that the state of Minnesota Retirement Fund has 1.6 million shares of Tesla stock.
Yes! Come on, dude. What are you talking about?
So you're rooting against your retirees by making a stupid statement like that.
Do you think he knew that when he first started saying that?
I
don't think so either.
I don't think he did.
Not that you should know every deal.
Well, remember, this is a guy that doesn't own any assets. We found that out during the presidential
But you might
race.
want to fact check that before you start.
But he is a member of the Minnesota retirement system, so he may want to think that through before you say crazy statements like that. And then he went on with Gavin Newsom and talked about he would, WWE wrestle, any Trump supporter and beat them. I mean, this guy's a clown. You guys can have him. I don't care if he comes to Wisconsin.
I don't want him.
Not you. He can come as much as he wants to. It's not going to impact our Supreme Court race and give him any better chance in 2028.
Counterpoint, Joe Zepecki.
Do you hear yourself?
I do.
We can hear.
When you think about the nonsense that Donald Trump talks about, the way he goes after people, and that's all okay with you.
I never said it was okay.
But Tim Walz making a joke about Tesla stock.
It wasn't a joke.
At the expense of the least popular person in America. It's just okay, whatever. But it's pretty transparent that you only find personal attacks and stupidity from Tim Walz offensive, but not from J.D. Vance or Donald Trump.
Is Tim Walz doing the job that maybe Governor Tony Evers should be doing for Democrats and his candidates?
Which is what?
Promoting his side of the political aisle. He's a Democratic governor.
No, here's the thing that I think Governor Evers should be applauded for, which is he's staying out of the court race.
Why doesn't Tim Walz stay out of it then?
Because Tony Evers will have business before the Wisconsin State Supreme Court.
He will.
And so that
plenty of it.
Tony Evers is playing by the rules and the norms, and we should recognize that. Tim Walz, he's not going to have business before the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. He can come and say whatever the heck he wants.
Real quick before the break. Should he have picked, or she have picked Shapiro for vice president?
I don't think it would have made a difference.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it would have made a difference.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I don't know that it would have been enough to win, but he would have been a far bigger upgrade than Walz.
I think what they should have done was not put Tim Walz in the basement, which is kind of what they did.
I think less Tim Walz would have been.
Oh, yeah. That's revisionist history.
Come on.
The 3 weeks he had.
I saw him.
He was better when he was auditioning for VP. He was incredible. He had Democrats fired up. He was reaching out to men.
All right, we got to get
to the news here. Could also fix a truck. And then they stuck him in the basement.
For those who keep track, I agreed with Bill on this one. All right, local news. Here's now the latest from ABC.
News. I'm Sherry Preston. The Department of Justice before a federal judge right now answering questions about the deportation of those Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador. The judge called the Trump administration's answers so far woefully inadequate. And ABC's Terry Moran has more.
To underline what the administration's sweeping legal argument is here, they're saying the president has the power to round up hundreds of people and deport them to a prison in a foreign country with no hearing. And he has no obligation to any court to show what the evidence is against these individuals or even to say what their names
A
are.
large fire near London's Heathrow Airport knocking out power to Europe's busiest flight hub, forcing it to shut down and disrupting travel for hundreds of thousands of airline passengers. The risk of fire high today for much of the country. Red flag warnings in effect from New Mexico to Nebraska and stretching all the way to southern Florida as well. New studies showing unless things change quickly, almost all glaciers will have melted away by the end of the century. This is ABC News.
Living Unlimited WTMJ News Time 9:31. I'm Connie Weber. Two early morning shootings in Milwaukee. First happened just after 3 a.m. near 10th and Hadley. A teen was trying to steal a car. A second teen fired a shot. 16-year-old went to the hospital with injuries. The 17-year-old arrested, both facing charges. Just 5 minutes later, a 42-year-old died from a shooting near 7th and Beecher. A 47-year-old taken to the hospital for treatment. Police looking for a known suspect in that case. Federal jury deadlocked over whether a former Wauwatosa police officer used excessive force when he shot and killed a teenager outside Mayfair Mall in 2020. Joseph Mensah shot and killed 17-year-old Alvin Cole during a foot chase, the third time he killed a person of color in the span of 5 years. After the Milwaukee County District Attorney did not pursue charges against Mensah, Cole's family filed a civil rights lawsuit. Mensah resigned from the department in 2020 and was hired at Waukesha County Sheriff's Department, a retrial scheduled for September 8th. Republican lawmakers in the Wisconsin Assembly passed 4 bills aimed at transgender youth. The proposals would prohibit trans girls from using girls' locker rooms and playing on girls' sports teams, require teachers to use only parent-approved pronouns, and prohibit doctors from providing gender transition care to minors. Governor Evers vetoed similar bills in the last legislative session. Time for some news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow is down 379 points, 41,573. The Nasdaq is down 104 at 17,587. The S&P 500 is down 41 at 5,621. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. I-94 east at the ramp from 25th Street, St. Paul Avenue. We've got the right shoulder there blocked due to a disabled vehicle. And it looks like we had an earlier incident just up the street from there. There's a little bit of slowing, but there was some debris in the roadway that has been cleared off. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Increasing cloudiness, breezy conditions today. Chance for an afternoon or evening shower. High 55. Slight chance for rain, possibly snow flurries overnight. Low 26. Early cloudiness, increasing sunshine tomorrow with a high 37. Then a wintry mix likely on Sunday, a high 47. Slight chance of snow showers on Monday, a high 43. And then a slight chance of rain on Tuesday with a high of 44. Madison at 40, Green Bay 39, Milwaukee 40 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time 934.
Please, please, please. Hear that? That's Shady Brad Schimmel on his knees begging for money from wealthy billionaires who want to buy Wisconsin's Supreme Court.
I have to crawl around begging people.
And the more Brad Schimmel begs,
please, please, please,
the more they shell out, because everyone knows Shady Brad Schimmel is for sale.
I have to crawl around begging people.
After all, Schimmel cut a crooked plea deal with a man caught with child pornography after his lawyer gave Schimmel thousands in campaign cash. What could have been a 25-year sentence was dropped to just 3 years for that sick predator. So it's no wonder billionaires want Shady Brad Schimmel on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They've seen Schimmel help his campaign donors, just like he did for that criminal's lawyer.
I have to invest in knee pads.
Brad Schimmel, if you're listening, get up off your knees. You're embarrassing yourself. Paid for by the Justice Project.
Please, please, please.
Not authorized by any candidate or candidate's agent or committee.
Please, please, please.
Hey, it's Lent. That's right. The Lenten season is here. Experience the fabulous Friday Fish Fry at the historic Fox and Hounds Supper Club. WTMJ's John Merck here. I love the Fox and Hounds Fish Fry. It's all you can eat. It's one of the best, and it's always fantastic service. All other dinners are buy one, get one free tonight and this weekend. The pan-fried walleye, salmon, scallops, pasta, a big fresh salad, even steak and lobster. Your second dinner's free. Desserts and huge ice cream drinks. I love the Brandy Alexanders. are buy one, get one free. Unwind with an old-fashioned. There's over 20 bourbons and 100 fine wines. Unique dining rooms with fireplaces. The Fox and Hound sits in the Kettle Moraine Forest. The scenery is spectacular. It's a Wisconsin must-see, and your second dinner's free. Saturday, your second prime rib dinner is free. So check out the Friday Lenten Fish Fry. All other dinners are buy one, get one free. Just off Highway 167 near Holy Hill. Call and reserve at one of my favorite spots, the Fox and Hounds.
Thank you for listening to Friday Edition, the origin story of the political power hour. 620 WTMJ, Steve Scaffidi, Bill McCosh, and Joseph Pecky. Left and right, Joe on the left, Bill on the right.
Should we explain that lead-in music just there? I think it's because producer Jocelyn is now wearing a Janesville Jets hat.
I think you're right on that. Wonder where that came from. And looking damn good in it. Wearing it proudly.
Benny and the Jets.
All right. Perfect. Bump in. All right, so I said this on Twitter this morning. I am sort of on Twitter, but I don't engage anymore. I just pronounce. I play by my own rules because I don't like Leon Musk. All right. The question is this. There's always been courts and lawsuits and judges, and especially after 2020, the aftermath, we all, got to learn a lot about how the system works and what makes sense and what doesn't. I'm of the opinion, and I've talked to my legal scholars about this for weeks and months, that we are now in this era of constant lawsuits, especially related to the actions of the president and DOJ and funding cuts and agency cuts. I guess from my question, I'll start with you, Bill, is do you think many of the things that Trump is trying to accomplish, noble design, right? Get efficient, cut cost of government, top-heavy government, all that stuff. I get that part of it. But the way they're doing it, do you think these things survive the courts? Because I'm not sure that that's the case.
I do think they survive. My big beef this week is with the assumed power of the district courts. And the one case in particular was sending TDA, Tren de Aragua, gang members back to Venezuela, and a district court got involved. By the way, Trump had invoked the Alien Enemies Act prior to that, which gave him, I learned a new word this week. Joe's our vocabulary guy. It's non-judiciable, which means the courts had no role in this under any set of circumstances, not just the district court, but the Supreme Court has no role in this. The president has full authority.
That is written?
It is written in a 1948 Supreme Court decision that the Alien Enemies Act gives the president sole authority to do this, and it is not judiciable. So that case, a lot of folks on the left lost their mind because they refused to turn the flight around. That judge had no authority to be involved in that case, period. So here's my point. The Supreme Court's going to have to move a little faster on what the true role of the courts is. I'm all for separation of powers. And if Trump and his team are exceeding their authority in certain ways, then the Supreme Court should say that. 5 members of the Supreme Court should say that. But just ignoring these things and letting, just so the listeners know, in the entire 20th century, there were 30 national TROs, temporary restraining orders, or injunctions. 30. Trump in his first term had 67. He's at least 30 already in the first 100 days of this term. So I think the court has, the lower courts have gotten far ahead of themselves, trying to be activist judges. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter of these things. It's time for them to step in. And whatever they say, Trump lived by that in the first term. He'll live by it this term.
He will live by it?
I believe he will.
But he isn't so far. And there's a lot in there. Okay, so I believe it is a concerted strategy. If you actually talk to Stephen Miller, they would tell you that Project 2025 in the blueprint was to push the bounds of what is written to try to exert maximum authority. That is a strategy.
We're in agreement on that.
That they know is going to end up in court. So I don't think it's fair to be like courts are getting out over their skis and putting all these TROs on when it is like by design they are trying to test the outer limits of the law. They knew this was going to happen. We still have due process in this country. I don't want gang members from Venezuela running on our streets. I don't. And there are credible people swearing out affidavits saying that they made mistakes. There were people on those flights who are now in like the equivalent of supermax prisons in Venezuela run by like warlords. I mean, it's like crazy how ridiculous these prisons are. That had nothing to do with gangs either in America or in Venezuela. And including someone who, like, they were flown over the weekend. There was a hearing scheduled for Monday where they were going to present evidence that this one individual had nothing to do with the gang. And you cannot take away people's due process. And if you do, that invites a challenge. Where this goes, in addition to like the legal questions, which need to be figured out in a court of law, is you have from the president on down, Elon Musk and everyone else, now attacking this judge, calling him a rogue judge, calling for his impeachment, getting slapped down by John Roberts. And Trump, who has the biggest megaphone in the world, can go out there and say, this judge is crazy, he doesn't like me, he hates me. And way more people hear that than know the truth, which is this district court judge, this chief judge, has sided with Trump multiple times over the last 10 years, including on stuff Trump really cared about.
The legal point that matters here, yes, the Enemies Act was declared by the president, but there's only a few situations where that can legally apply, and that's the legal question.
We're not in a declared war.
And that's one of them. So that's part of the legal aspects of this case. We've got to get to break. Rogers Love, Sapecki, McCoshen, next.
The wait is over. Brewers baseball is back. Time to pick your Brewers games and get back to the ballpark for tailgate traditions and walk-off wins. Be here for opening day. Come back for the big games and the best giveaways. Where else would you want to be? Brewers tickets for the 2025 season are on sale now. That's opening day and every game, all summer long. Get on board for the show today. Grab your seats at brewers.com/ticket finder.
Hey, WTMJ, Steve Scaffidi, why don't you come join me on my journey? Milwaukee weight loss. I've lost 36 pounds, I think 36 and a half if you want to be completely accurate. It's the secret to losing up to 1 pound of fat every day. Their doctors have developed easy-to-follow weight loss program. I'm following it. If I can, you can. You can lose weight fast, naturally, safely, with no drugs, no injections, no risk of serious side effects, no prepackaged meals, bars, shakes, all that stuff. You don't have to do it. Their program helps reset your metabolism so you can keep the weight off for good with a coach. Mine's Emily. They have all great coaches there at Milwaukee Weight Loss. And here's the kicker. The program costs up to half as much as the other programs and works up twice as fast. Go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Schedule your free consultation. Most patients, 20 to 30-pound weight loss in a month or two. It's crazy to watch your body lose that weight, but you feel great doing it. Schedule your free consultation by calling 262-449-1180. 262-449-1180. Or online at MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. That's MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
Is outdoor living limited at your place? Well, imagine a deck, a patio, pergola, fire pit, maybe even an outdoor kitchen in your yard. Outdoor Living Unlimited is a local, family-owned company that consults, designs, and builds these things. They're the best. Let them make Outdoor Living Unlimited in your yard like they did in ours. We are Wisconsin. We live outdoors as much as possible. Make the most of it with help from Outdoor Living Unlimited. See OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com.
I'm WTMJ's Sandy Max. What makes living at Three Pillars so special? Let's hear from my friend Dave.
The campus is beautiful. For me, nature is my church, and I love being outside. We live by the Bark River, and it's calming. It just calms my soul. I just love it. A lot of the people, I'm talking about 100-year-old people, they credit Three Pillars with living longer.
Schedule a tour today at threepillars.org.
Imagine all the things you dream of under one roof. You're thinking of eBay. Fashion, collectibles, car parts. It's all there. Go find the thing that keeps you up at night. eBay. Things people love.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hardworking partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
Now it's time for Love and Rogers on the Political Power Hour.
Airs it out. Complete.
What makes you wanting more?
We got to find a way to go win.
And what makes you want to tear your hair out?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, it always a good good question. What do you love? What do you hate? Rogers love. We mix in some football sound there. I love that. All right, who's going first?
I'm going to love the Wisconsin Badgers basketball
nice win
team.
yesterday.
Well, making it to the finals of the Big Ten tournament when they were projected to be 14th in the conference. They lost some very big pieces last spring in Chucky Hepburn and A.J. Storr. Guys like me were a little bit worried about the future of the program. Old Greg Gard goes to the portal and finds guys that are even better. John Tonje is now a second-team All-American. I think it helps with recruiting. Bucky won yesterday. I think they're in good shape on Saturday, and we'll finally get the rest they need for the Sweet 16.
If only could fix that football program.
Keep on dancing. I am loving Republicans who are willing to use their voice and not compromise their integrity. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, quote, "I'm not going to compromise my own integrity by hiding from my words when I feel they need to be spoken. I'm going to take the criticism that comes. And it may be that Elon Musk decides he's going to take the next $1 billion he makes off Starlink and put it directly against me. That's why you've got everybody just like zip-lipped, not saying a word, because they're afraid they're going to be taken down. They're going to be primary. They're going to be given names in the media. You know what? We cannot be cowed into not speaking up." End quote. Thank you, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, for speaking your mind.
All right, so Love Fest. What do you hate?
Well, I am hating the lack of debates in the two statewide races. We had one true debate hosted by WISN, Matt Smith, Jaron Jones in the Supreme Court race. That was it. It was 1 hour long. In the DPI race, we finally had a virtual, I would call it a joint appearance more than a debate, hosted here in Milwaukee on Wednesday night. It actually was quite well done by Miss Kinzer, Brittany Kinzer, who's running against incumbent Jill Underly. But the fact that, again, back to the press thing, Joe, the press would have called BS on this. They would have said we need more debates and been a stronger player in this. The fact that all four of these campaigns can get away with one debate or no debates is really sad for voters.
And let the record show that Brittany Kinzer was on my Monday program, and both candidates for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Brad Schimmel and Susan Crawford, on my Wednesday program. Extended interviews available on our podcast page, and an offer to Jill Underly was also made, not accepted. Joe.
We've got an update to an earlier story we talked about.
Breaking news?
And I still hate it. Liberal rag, the Wall Street Journal.
Ooh.
Musk is receiving the briefing because he asked for one. He has a security clearance, but isn't in the military chain of command or a military advisor to Trump.
There we go. And
you can dunk on the New York Times all you want.
Yeah, they're confirming that appearance.
The Wall Street Journal is no liberal rag. It sounds like this was certainly going to happen, even if it didn't. And this is way too much authority to be giving to a South African billionaire. I think
so. The good news is Donald Trump is the most accessible president in any of our lifetimes, and he'll get asked about this. Let's see what he has to say later this morning.
By what standard?
Accessible.
Oh, yeah, accessible. Yeah. Okay. Actually, they've done a good job with that.
Almost every day
I get all the White House
questions.
communications.
Yeah.
It's the number one email I get. And I get like dozens of them every day.
He'll be asked about it
so
today.
Good
Let's
job.
see what he has
good
to say.
job.
But he also thinks his son is a tech genius because he can turn on a laptop computer.
That was funny.
So sometimes what you hear out of this accessible president is just nonsense.
Yeah. His son, Barron, who will be running for president in the 2040s.
We'll
Said
see.
it here first. Bill McCoshen, Joseph Pecky, grab bag after this on 620 WTMJ.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. You know we've got a lot of fantastic places in our state, right? You can probably point to them on the map. Maybe you've heard about a couple of them, but how much do you really know? I've got a great idea for you. Hang out with us on Saturdays at 1 p.m. for Experience Wisconsin. We check in with some of those places around the state. You meet great people. You get to know some great places. It's Experience Wisconsin, the best and brightest spots around Wisconsin. We'll introduce you. This week, it's Road America and Visit Beloit. It's Experience Wisconsin on WTMJ.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve. Oh, I can't even say my name this morning. So excited about the guys being here. But I am also excited about Heiser Automotive. I love talking about Heiser. I was driving this Chevy Silverado yesterday. Guy looks over, also driving a Silverado, beeps. We did the thumbs up. It's a great truck. And I was a F-150 guy, and I know that Heiser also sells those, and they sell a lot of them, trust me. But the Chevy Silverado is worth the experience. Trust me, test drive one. You can go to one of their great locations and test drive one of these things. Mine's a beautiful glacial blue color, metallic. Oh, it's awesome looking. Unbelievable gas mileage, by the way. 24 city, 29 highway. all the things you expect in a truck. Lots of elbow room in the inside the cab, payload, towing capacity, all there, all the great programs. You don't have to take my word for it. Go to one of their 5 great locations or go to Heiser.com, see all their new and pre-owned vehicles. That's why I say, and that's why they say every day at Heiser Automotive, today is your day.
Get your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval to buy at accunet.com.
Debbie Loziga here for Kohler Services. If you've been putting off your bath or shower remodel, now's the time to turn to Kohler Services. Family owned for 150 years, Kohler is your Wisconsin manufacturer providing care for life. This month only, get $1,000 off your Luckstone shower remodel and no payment financing until 2026. Visit KohlerServicesWI.com to request your free quote with fast professional installation always included. That's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Burkhardt Sporting Goods in New Berlin is the baseball lover's destination with a massive state-of-the-art indoor training facility featuring hit tracks with precision analytics, a huge open turf area, and all the best training equipment you need. So get in here and get ready to get better. And we'll help you with this special offer. Buy 20 batting cage credits for $30. That's 25% off. This is Brian Burkhardt, and if you love baseball and softball like we do,
you can't beat Burkhardt.
153rd and National. If you plan on draining buzzer beaters, the place to start is Burkhardt, where you'll find a great selection of residential basketball hoops from the best brand, Gorilla. We'll handle the installation and take care of everything to make it easy from start to finish. And right now, when you buy from Burkhardt, standard hoop installation is half price. Only $250 for standard installation. You can't beat that. This is Brian Burkhardt, and when you love basketball like we do,
you can't beat Burkhardt.
New Berlin and Fox Point.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
All right. Since we got most of the politics out of our systems, let's finish up with some grab bags.
All right, Joseph, back here first up, and then you got to get out of here. You got a flight to catch or something.
I do. J.D. Vance's favorability is worse than Kamala Harris's at the 2-month mark, and perhaps it is possible. They're saying perhaps worse than any new vice president in the history of polling. And watch this space. We didn't talk about it today, but Social Security is going to be a thing. Trump administration is closing offices while simultaneously requiring more Social Security recipients to go in person to re-prove their identity. This could be a real political loser for the Trump administration.
That is a loser. And do you endorse the fat shaming that's going on with the vice president? Because there's a lot of that going on social media. It's like, what's that about exactly?
I literally haven't seen any of it.
Really?
And I would never do that.
Huh.
I think it's fair game to make fun of his makeup. I think it's fair game to make fun of Donald Trump's makeup. If you want to be manly men, don't wear makeup.
Yeah, with this administration, more hair and makeup than any previous administration
Have
in the U.S.
fun
history.
in Mexico.
All right, buddy.
Quick shout out to my niece, Grace McCoshin. She plays for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are in the Women's Frozen Four. They play Cornell today. Cornell's starting goaltender is a young lady by the name of Annalise Bergman, who is the only female to ever play in a boys junior hockey game. And she played for who? The Janesville Jets. We played her in Janesville. The place was packed with moms and daughters, and they all stood in line to get Annalise's autograph after. So good luck to Annalise and my niece Grace. Here's my close. If you're looking for who law enforcement's choice is in the Supreme Court race,
obvious.
Look no further than yesterday the Wisconsin Professional Police Association endorsed Brad Schimmel. They're a 10,000-member statewide organization who tends to lean left, by the way. They endorsed Brad Schimmel. Brad Schimmel also has 54 of the 72 current sheriffs in our great state of Wisconsin, so he is law enforcement's choice. Don't listen to the noise on the air about sentencing. Another top host in Milwaukee retweeted something this morning. It's a story from the Journal Sentinel that showed Brad Schimmel's sentences for sexual predators and overall are much stronger than Susan Crawford. Brad Schimmel is law enforcement's choice.
I think that's right. I mean, we had both candidates on the program Wednesday, and look, he is a law and order guy, rule of law guy. I've had countless conversations with him on the air and off. He's somebody I think that represents that, and I think if you read anything out of the Trump election, America and Americans voters, including those in Wisconsin, are looking for that sort of return to normalcy.
Yeah.
This is the law. You will follow it. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences. I think that's sort of what Brad Schimmel represents.
No question. That his whole campaign's been about that. We'll see how the final 10 days go.
All right. So I know you're watching March Madness.
I am watching.
All right. So I know you're
go Marquette today.
You're up on Marquette.
My one son went to Madison. The other went to Marquette. So I'm a Badger. So the Badgers are still alive. I'm cheering for Marquette today.
Which team you think is better?
I think Wisconsin is. I think this Wisconsin team, when they're hitting their threes, could make it to the Final Four.
You can say the same thing about Marquette. They're both great shooting teams, but when they're not, boy,
when they're ice cold, it's a different story, and that's sort of what happened to them the final 10 days of the season, where they lost a couple games they shouldn't have.
All right, since Joe bailed because he's going on vacation, we got a minute. Biggest story in politics next week. What do you think it's going to be?
Whether or not Donald Trump or J.D. Vance comes to Wisconsin. Joe and I talked about this on Upfront last Sunday. I think that will be the final signal to quote-unquote Trump voters. Remember, Trump got the most votes in Wisconsin history, 1.68 million in November. Not many of those folks, or not maybe half of those, will vote in the spring election. So it's incumbent upon the Schimmel campaign to let them know who the right candidate is. If Vance shows up here next week, and I think it's more likely to be Vance than the president himself, that will be the signal. And they can say things that will get statewide attention that Brad Schimmel could never say.
He knows Republican politics better than anybody. Bill McCoshen, Joe, wherever you are, thanks for being here. Don't forget, all of this show, all of these interviews, and all the things we've done this week and every week are available at WTMJ.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Go Marquette. Go UW Wisconsin. What was that hockey team again?
Ohio State.
Ohio State's women's side.
The Buckeyes.
All right. Have a great weekend. We'll get it going again Monday morning right here on 620 WTMJ.
I'm sure you knew.
The most common reason pain sufferers come to us is to be able to perform their daily tasks without suffering through them. Grandparents who want to be able to take their grandkids on walks and to the park. Or those that just want to be able to get out of their vehicle with more ease than pain. Rejuvenex pain treatments can help, and the sooner you get to calming down that pain, the better it will be. These are powerful, FDA-approved pain treatments precisely administered with an extremely small